everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Addicts. We are on season 3, and this is episode 21, I believe. 22. 22. So this is episode 22. My guest today is Shannon Michelle Collins, the queen of the darkness. So, uh, so for the people who watch me regularly out there, everybody's probably trying to figure out, wasn't you going to 2 episodes a month? Yes, I was. But yeah, it just doesn't work. So we have 5 this month, and we have 3 special ones, and this is my first special one of the month. So, uh, so so anyway, back to the introduction. I interrupted myself. Uh, I can do that though. Thank you for spending part of your evening with us as always. I am your host as usual, Kent Wilson. Whether you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Podbean, or wherever you enjoy your podcast, we thank you for joining us. Our guest is someone whose work spans several different genres. She's an award-winning psychic, a published poet, an author, an actress, a model, paranormal investigator, and Paraflex host. Yes. So she also investigates with the Long Island Paranormal Investigators, a team many of you have seen featured on TV over the years. One thing I'm most excited to discuss here tonight is your book, A Dream Within a Screen, a collection of automatic writings from a spirit of attachment. That's just a fascinating topic, and one I don't think gets discussed nearly enough in the paranormal community. We're going to talk about your lifelong journey, your experiences as psychic, your relationship between creativity and the paranormal, and of course, we'll talk a little bit about an event that we'll both be at this year, Rock Island Expo, and so let's get started. We'll get started like we usually do. For the people who don't know you, introduce yourself to everybody. Just tell everybody who you are.
I am known as the Queen of Darkness. My name is Shannon Michelle Collins. I am an actress, poet, paranormal investigator, and a weirdo. I'm a hostess, social media hostess, for Paraflix Paranormal Plus. It is a paranormal streaming network where you can get all things spooky at all times. It's constantly being updated. I can get you a really cool code for that if you'd like. You can use code QOD30 and that'll get you 30% off your annual subscription. It is a great time. But that is generally, I yeah, I do all those. I do a lot of things. I don't like to talk about it because it makes me feel like.
I understand that. I mean, I really do understand that because, you know, I do a lot of things too, and I understand a lot of people know me, but when you ask me, I always tell people I'm a nobody. You know, I don't want to be. I don't want to be anything. I'm a paranormal investigator. That's what I want to be. The author, the podcast, all the other stuff. I don't care really. I don't really care about all that. So, so the first thing that struck me was your poetry. You started writing poetry young. I'm trying to use my notes here, but I keep losing.
It's okay.
I used to just, for the first 2 seasons, I used to just do everything off script. I just completely, but the problem with that was my episodes were during 2-3 hours, and
Right.
and so now I try to have a guideline. It's not really a script; it's a guideline to try to keep
Yeah,
it
of
focused.
course.
And
That makes sense.
so, do you remember the very first poem you wrote?
No, I don't remember the very first poem I wrote. I remember my first award for a story was in second grade, and it was about ironically, a pumpkin. um, and that won a prize. And it won a little pumpkin prize. It was really cute. I mean, looking back at it as a little person to write. Um, And then I had stopped for a while, and then I started again, just on and off, I guess. I guess that's why that connection with the attachment was so unique, for me and special, that they chose that way to connect me to them. So it's pretty cool.
Yes, it's always nice, even though we don't do anything for awards. It's nice to be, appreciated. Come,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your psychic ability. So people often assume that you just wake up and you're a psychic. One day you just wake up and you're suddenly a psychic. In reality, that's probably usually not how it works. It's usually more gradual than that. When did you first realize you were experiencing things that other people were?
When I was very young, I remember an experience where I was seeing and, you know, communicating with, like, I would write, um, trace like what they were saying. Um, I feel like I was told a lot that it was like my imagination or whatever. And then when I got a little bit older, like with my writing, when I got a little bit older, I want to say I was probably like 17 or 18 years old. There was things that kept happening that at that point I was like, this is weird. Like, why would I know that? Or, you know, um, things like that. And then a few years later, I wound up going out with some friends, and I went to a place and I felt, um, in my mind, I kept getting the name Maria, and it kept switching back and forth. And I knew nothing about this place, and I didn't understand why I was getting that name. And then as I was getting it, I felt like I was being choked. And then I felt like my lips were going numb and my fingertips were going numb. And I was like, I kind of have to go. Like, I feel like I'm dying here. So, um, accidentally, I found the history on that place because I was looking up for other haunted locations in the area, and that place popped up, and I was like, oh, wow, interesting. So I read what they had said about it, and supposedly there was a spirit there by the name either Marie or Maria, and that is how she died. So, I feel like sometimes I could see like through their eyes what they're looking at. It's not like I'm seeing them per se, and it's not. Um, it's something that I haven't really worked with in a really long time. I After my attachment happened, it's just like within the last, I'd say, 6 months that I started opening myself back up again to that kind of a thing. So it makes me scared.
I mean, I understand that. I mean, my experiences started really young too. I wrote in my book, that most people's earliest memories is like their first Christmas or their first bike or something like that. My first memory is the first time I saw an apparition at 5 years old, and 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 a lot of my experiences come in dreams. Like I'll have dreams, and it would seem like abstract, like events that have nothing to do with anything. And then
Mhm.
like I'll forget about it, and years later, everything I dreamed starts happening, and then something. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like I said off camera, now I consider it a gift. At five,
Yeah.
6, 7 years old, I didn't particularly consider it a gift. It kind of, like you said, I thought I was strange. I thought, especially
Yeah.
growing up in the Bible Belt. I tell people not only did I grow up in the Bible Belt, I grew up in like the capital of the Bible Belt. You
Right.
know,
Oh no.
I actually had this complete stranger when I was 12 years old. Um, I went to see my Memoir, my grandma. I called her Memoir. I went. She had a stroke, and they finally allowed us to go see her at the hospital. Well, I was. This is going to age me a little bit, but I was at the vending machine trying to buy a Pepsi Free, the only Pepsi product I ever liked, a Pepsi Free in the red can. So I was trying to get a Pepsi Free, and this lady, like a 60-year-old lady, I never seen before in my life. She looked like Neil Carter from Give Me a Break, and she walks up to me and tells me that I'm going to hell and I'm a tool of the devil. I'm like, that's interesting. So yeah, it is an adventure.
That's yeah. Wow.
Yeah, who tells that to a 12-year-old kid? I
I
mean,
know. Wow.
especially at a
Wow.
hospital. Um,
Oh. I'm sorry. What happened to you?
that,
That's crazy.
that kind of started. That was kind of the beginning of why I studied theology. It wasn't really because I cared about getting the degree or anything. It's because I wanted to understand if it all worked together. You know, I just because some 6-year-old lady that looked like Neil Carter told me that I was a tool of the devil, I didn't believe that was true. So I wanted to know. I wanted to know as much as I could.
Right.
Let's talk about the book. Let me find my place here.
Sure. Oh.
Oh, oh, will you have one more question about psychic abilities before we go to the book? Don't you love how organized I am? As, as what do you think the biggest misconception that that people have when it comes to psychic abilities in the paranormal field?
Um, what do I think is the biggest misconception when it comes to psychic abilities in the field?
Yes.
I think that everybody can just do the same thing or connect the same way. I think that's like a big misconception. There's a lot of varieties to whatever it is. I like to say that I can connect to energy. I don't like to say that I am necessarily like a psychic or a medium or anything like that. Like I I connect to energy in different ways. And sometimes they will channel through me and stay along for the ride for a really long time, or sometimes they don't talk to me at all, like real people. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, connect with energy. That's a good way to describe it because like we discussed earlier, I don't like labeling myself either. I
Yeah.
just yeah, so that's good. And yeah, so okay, so your book is called "A Dream with a Scream," a collection of automatic writings from a spiritual attachment. That's a title that nobody forgets. Um, for would it explain to everybody what inspired you to write the book and just tell us about the book?
So after I had a paranormal experience at a place in Southampton, and it had caused me to have a spirit attachment. Um, that spirit was connecting with me through automatic writing, and I found that when I was writing this stuff out, it sounded like poetry. And then I found that it was telling a story almost. Um, and it was very interesting. And then, I shared that with some people from my old group, the Long Island Paranormal Investigators. I'm no longer with them. But when I shared it with them, um, my friend Julie was in the group, and she was one of the first people that told me that maybe I should share that stuff. And I was afraid to, initially, because I didn't want to be judged on it or anything like that. And then I kind of put all that aside, and I was like, you know what? What if somebody else had experienced something like this? And, they need to know that there's other people out there that may have gone through it. At least it's somebody to talk to. Not that I can save them from it or anything like that, but at least you're not alone in it. Because I felt very alone in it because it was such a unique experience that happened that it was weird. It still makes me feel like I'm a crazy person, but so from there, I had a friend and they helped me put together this book. My friend Roy, He's one of my photographers. He took this photo here. And I keep coming back. There's a pumpkin in this one too. So I think I have a thing for pumpkins. Yeah, and that's why it's like written out the way that it is. It looks like it's on old paper, like an old diary. And if you look closely at the pages, these are like little tear marks. Um, it's a very sad, very, very sad poetry. There's one poem in here that does not belong. I got in there by accident. When I sent it over, I accidentally added a poem that was not an automatic writing. But all the other ones are. Um, and it's interesting. Some of them are cool. And then I found like some of them you can read like starting at the bottom sentence and then read it up. And then it has like a different, I don't know. It's cool. I think it's interesting.
I think
It's
it's very
weird.
interesting.
But yeah, it's,
I think it's very interesting, and I have to get a copy of the book. So
yeah, I'll send you one.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I like the fact that you said that what finally got you to write the book was because you wanted people to know that there's somebody else that experienced it. Because you were alone. I understand that feeling. When I first started getting into when I first decided I was going to stop being afraid of my abilities and learn to use them and investigate, I was 12 years old, and that was way back in 1842. No, it was 1986. It was 1986,
I was
and
gonna say,
so in those days, for the people old like me, you understand this. In those days, we didn't have ghost hunters, ghost adventures, ghost brothers, ghost.
right.
We didn't have any of that. We didn't have books. We didn't well, we had some books, but we didn't have like my life, my story with. We didn't have my story with all that stuff. We had, if we were lucky, we had one Friday a month. Robert Stack on Unsolved Mysteries would do the unexplained,
Hell yeah.
and that sticks with you because of Robert Stack's voice, and and
So
then and then we had the library. So at 12 years old, I was in the Paducah McCracken County Library and the Heath Middle School Library, checking out every possible thing I could on ghosts, parapsychology, anything. And of course, in those days, most of most of uh, most of your resources were probably from Ed and Lorraine Lauren. Those were most of the books you got. So I read all the other books. I actually developed a pen pal relationship with Ed Warren. Like I would write, and he would write me back, encourage me to keep going. And so that was kind of cool. So yeah,
that's really sweet.
so I was definitely alone. So I think that's why I training, teaching the new generation is my passion. Like
Sure.
my team's a big team, and like and it's a big team because I like to teach people. If I have a passion to do it, I'm going to help them learn.
Yeah.
So Joe wants to know if you can read one of your poems.
Oh, sure, Joe. Let's see. Do-do-do-do-do. I haven't read one of these in a very long time. Let's see. I'll do this one. These these dreams I cannot seem to perceive. So painful, yet I cannot grieve. As I look in your eyes and I think I see a gleam, a glimmer of hope. Oh, how we tried to cope. Ah, but it was just a dream. A dream of a lover scorned, that look on your face. Oh, how your heart was worn. Your skin, a ghostly glow. Little did we know you would haunt us still, replaying over and over what you could not have, what you never will. Lost in a void that can never be filled, screaming in my head that never ending shrill, pleading in my head. to find love, but still, there's longing. Yet, it may be not as it may seem. In this dream you seem to dance and sing of your lover gone awry, bringing with it the wrath and the torment, opening up the sky, feeling your pain. The banshee takes flight, moaning, groaning, and screaming all throughout the night. The screaming so fierce, it brought upon a fright that others could soon not forget. The girl with no name who wailed to the clouds about how she was disavowed by the only one she could never regret. It feels like just a dream, but it's a nightmare, I should say, replaying over and over again from the beginning all the way to the end every single day. And then you wake from this dream, pulling out your hair, wondering why you were always in that place, feeling maligned, all that torment eating you alive, twisting your face. You jump out of your bed, shaking your head, not yet realizing you are dead. Still living in fear because, my dear, if it wasn't very clear, there's much more to this dream. You won't wake up, you're in a loop, jumping through hoops, and as you can see, you cannot set her free. I am her and she is me. Sweet they aren't, but dreams of you they are. The love we shared, the pain we had to bear, and the screams near and far. Realizing the screams are coming from me, as I find I'm dead, and yet forever I'm haunted by you. That was hard to get through. That was longer than I thought it was going to be. I got emotional. I stuttered. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's one of them.
So, just to be clear to the people out there listening, and the people that will be listening when we upload it tomorrow, explain to people what automatic writing is. I mean, I think when people hear that term, I mean, I think it's pretty well self-explanatory, but I think other people might have other interpretations. So,
Automatic writing is, I guess, there's different variations of it, but you have a spirit channeling through you, and they're essentially using you to be the tool to write with. I can do it that way. I have done it that way. I call it automatic writing. For me, this way, I would get it coming through my head really, really fast, and I would have to get it out. So I would type it out. I would have pen and paper nearby. I would have whatever close to me. There is a difference between my writing and that kind of a writing. It's you can feel it. It's very emotional for me that I forgot how I haven't connected to that in a very long time. So
I think that's one thing people don't realize is, the abilities, no matter which version you have, it is an emotionally draining process,
yeah.
So Joe said, whoa, that was remotely transmitted to you. And then Sarah Marie said, that is beautiful.
Thank you
And,
so much.
and
The transmitted to me, yes, it was. I have the date somewhere in here. Well, it was before around 2019. Sometimes what happens is I'll get it in pieces, and then I know that they go together. You could tell, like, so I can't honestly remember if that was a full-blown all at once or if that was in the pieces. I think that one was all at once. And it takes a weird twist. Like, it starts talking about one thing and then it goes back, but it's all saying the same stuff, and I just go with whatever it's saying. There are some parts where I would come into play to just put it together. But yeah, for the most part, yeah. Isn't that weird? I think that's weird.
I think it's paranormal. It's not normal, so it's
Yeah.
paranormal, right? Yeah, I think writing is a powerful thing. Even I've never been Joe said it's haunting. Yeah. Um, so we were investigating a location one time that they don't allow investigations anymore, but it was it it has an interesting history. It was the African American school during segregation in a little bitty West Kentucky town, and then it became a black church after it closed down as a school. So, but it had been abandoned a while. And of course, like all these stories go, I guess, with it being a church. Of course, it was right beside the city cemetery. But we were investigating it, and we didn't really get too much in the church, which was kind of interesting to me because I believe through my experiences that churches and religious locations are actually some of your most haunted uh, locations. But we didn't get much in the church. But when we started investigating the school, it still had like the classroom, it still had like the principal's office kind of stuff. Uh, we we were investigating what was the classroom, and we found a journal, for lack of better terms. Apparently, somewhere during the abandoned part of the process, a homeless person has started living in this building, and they were apparently somebody that was released from prison, and blah blah blah. But it was like their journal. They would talk about how they lost their rights to their kid and their will to, and I was just I just had a connection to the journal, and the more I read it, like I was reading it, and as I was reading it, the activity picked up from the energy of the journal. It was just
Interesting.
it was a really cool experience. I actually own the journal now because when they stopped allowing us to investigate it, the church apparently still owns it, even though they moved somewhere else. So and they haven't paid taxes in like 2 decades. but but um, but when they told us to take anything that we needed, because that was the last time we was going to be there, so I took the journal, and
Aw,
because I was drawn to it, so I felt like I needed it. I felt like it wanted the journal. Whoever wrote the journal wanted me to have it. If that makes
right.
sense.
It makes sense. Makes
I'm
sense.
rude too, I guess. Um, the other thing I think we all have little things that we like to collect from our investigations. My thing, besides the journal, is I collect bricks. Like I have bricks from like 6 locations I've been to. I don't know why bricks. I just bricks. I guess really because I think people won't miss a brick, but I always ask. I don't just take it.
Right, right, right.
So all right. So we're going to have a little break in the. Sarah says it's a phenomenal gift. Um,
Thank you, sir.
Sabrina, I mean, I don't know why I said Sarah.
Oh,
Sabrina said
Sabrina.
it's a phenomenal gift. So we are going to have, we're going to do my favorite part, uh, so we can stop being as serious. It's fun and serious. It's my speed round. It's 12 questions. Some of them are serious. Some of them are just fun. First thing that pops in your head, don't overthink it. Are you
All
ready?
right. Right. Ready.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink.
Energy drink.
Favorite snack during an investigation.
Favorite what?
Snack.
Oh, yeah, candy.
One
Like
piece of
fruity
par-
candy.
one piece of paranormal equipment you won't investigate without.
A digital recorder.
One piece of paranormal equipment you believe is overrated.
Um, everything.
favorite, favorite paranormal TV show.
Um, favorite paranormal TV show. I don't have one. I don't have one anymore. I don't know. My brain isn't like braining for that one right now.
That's okay. You're good. Uh, I don't watch the shows anymore either. So for me to answer the question, I have to go back to like Paranormal State.
Oh, I
Uh,
love all the shows on Paraflix.
I love Paraflix. Yeah, I actually just watched. I just watched the episode, with Eric when they went to Robert the Door. I just
Oh,
watched that
such
episode.
cool. That's a
Yeah,
cool show too.
yeah, yeah.
Haunted Files.
Okay, so where was we at? Favorite paranormal or supernatural book?
Oh, The Life of a Demonologist.
Haunted, haunted doors. Fact or fiction?
I think it depends on the situation. Half and half.
Demonic activity, fact or fiction?
Half and half. Depends on the situation.
Protection, protection before an investigation. Yay or nay?
You should, but I always forget. Hence why I'm in this problem.
I'm about 50-50. So,
50-50.
Ouija board, a game, tool, or portal.
Oh, depends on the situation.
Intent depends on the intent.
Yep.
Uh, if you can investigate with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be?
My dad.
Finally, what is your number one bucket list location to investigate?
I want to go to Europe and investigate everywhere there, every single spot and everywhere else. I want it everywhere. I but on okay, in here, um, bucket list location, somewhere in Hawaii maybe, so I can enjoy the views and the spooky things.
I divide my bucket list wish into like categories. I have like a realistic category, and like it's never going to happen, so don't even worry about location. So like my never going to happen location is like the catacombs.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. I didn't think of that one.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good one.
And then like Alcatraz goes in that category too. And
Okay.
then like my realistic bucket list, and like we discussed earlier, I'm actually knocking off two out of the three locations by February. Is the Hinsdale House, Penhurst, Randolph County Asylum, and the Christian Hotel.
I'm
And
just gonna borrow your bucket.
and so yeah, so okay, so here's one of my go-to questions that I ask everybody, just because it's an important question. So so I've kind of coined my own phrase, and that's para pop culture. And obviously, I think it's pretty real self-explanatory what para pop culture is. So the question is, how do you think the para pop culture has affected the field, both positively and negatively?
Oh, I think that it has affected the field because it's lost its meaning. Why are they doing the research? It's become more about getting it's like getting out there, getting your views out there. And then that's not for everybody. And I'm not saying I'm not putting everybody under an umbrella, but the general concept of that, I feel like it's lost a lot of meaning and it's become less genuine. Um, Maybe there are things that can be debunked that might be overlooked just because the jump scare is better than the truth. That's just how I feel about it. That's just my opinion. And, I'm not here to like shame anyone. It's just that's my view on it.
Yeah, I tell people. So I'm on record as saying that we have more paranormal entertainers anymore than we have paranormal investigators, and
Yeah.
those are two different things, and neither one of us bad, I guess.
No,
It's just um,
but I think it should be labeled as such then,
right.
right?
I agree. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
I think there should be a line where it's labeled as paranormal entertainment and then paranormal research and investigation because there's only so much you know, yeah. Anyway. But the good that it has brought to it is that I think more awareness to the field. Maybe more people are open to letting you come and investigate different locations where they might not have 15, 20 years ago. They would have looked away and now, so but it's
yeah.
become a business and that's okay too. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm not. You live your life. but
If
that's
you
the
can
effect
sleep,
I see on it.
if you can sleep at night, go for it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree with exactly what you said. I think that's the good. Is it's more out there now. It's more open. You know, the way I explain it to people is, you know, 20, 30 years ago, you know, especially where I'm from, if I was wearing my paranormal shirt, people would be like, well, like I said, the lady told me I was going to hell when I was a tool of the devil, So, and now I'll be at Walmart or wherever, and I'll have my Cantan paranormal shirt or my location, just whatever paranormal shirt I have on, and all of a sudden it's the person is talking to me. Oh, you mean like ghost hunters? And I'm like, well, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, I think my grandmother's house is haunted. They all
Right.
have that story. So
Something
that's
like
that's definitely the positive. Uh, the negative is, like you said, and it's not all. Is we have a certain percentage, a certain loud minority. Is what I like to call it, a loud minority that has got into the field to be celebrities. They got into the field to be on TV. Um, you know, and they run around screaming everything's a demon, and it's not. If they ever actually ran into a demon, they would piss their pants. So that's the negative. I call I like to call this one duro. Uh, I call them my nickname for them is the Spice Girls of the paranormal field, because there's no substance to their investigation. It's all about entertaining, how many views they get, and if you go to their fan group, they have a fan group. If you go to the fan group page, it's all about the girls arguing about which one's cuter or which one. I'm like, that's not paranormal. And so they're the Spice Girls of the paranormal film, and I had no problem with them until now. There's locations you go to now that you can no longer go live at,
hmm
and you can no longer release video until it's approved by the location. And they
Right.
perceive, and the people that run these locations are friends of mine, and they personally told me that that's because of these two that run
Well, they want
around.
to if they want to keep the integrity of their location, that makes sense. Of the
Yep,
history of their location,
yep,
you
yep,
know.
yep. Well, and that's what they said.
Yeah.
They're like, well, our location is very active, but there's no demons, and we don't want that. And I'm not talking about little locations either. I'm talking about like Herman Hospital, Brushy Mountain, uh, Old
Okay.
South Pittsburgh Hospital. So yeah, so that's when I have a problem. And then the other problem that I had is this other group was sitting next to me last year at Smoky Mountain Terror, and they were charging $60 for a picture, not even an autograph picture, just a picture. I'm like, you know,
Like like a picture of them,
like an eight
like
by
with them.
10, like a 5 by 8 group picture of them. And I mean, I have no problem with them charging for a picture, but $60 is a little bit ridiculous, especially since they're already being paid to be there.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were good guys. I mean, once I talked to them, like, because I'm that guy that I'm going to call you out on it. If
Right. Right.
so, I did. I called them out on it, and they looked at me and they said, "Oh, that's fair." And then we became buddies,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean,
Well, that's the thing, though. You don't have to always agree 100% with 100% of what someone does, as
right,
long as, they're not
yeah,
like physically causing like harm or whatever, or
yeah,
emotionally causing harm in people.
yeah. So
You can
so
still
so
be
my
friends.
I mean, my rule is I'll work with anybody as long as you're not faking stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
don't. I mean, when you faking stuff, I feel like it's just you're just like taking away from your own experience. I feel like, um, more than anything else, and I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think that is the point of holding an investigation. Sometimes things happen and sometimes they don't. It's about, you know, having a control, investigating a place over a period of time and seeing like, okay, well, maybe it's more active at this time, maybe it's more active at this time, and balancing it out, and not just and then figuring out what the activity is or what it's coming from. If there are bangs, if it's an abandoned building, more than likely there's animals in there. So maybe you should check that out. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Um, things like that. Or people. Oh, God forbid, but you're people in there, so maybe other people are in there. It's just like the common sense things to look for, I feel like is important to have. Not
Yeah,
fake. Don't
and,
fake.
so my philosophy when I investigate is, especially with my team, is uh, you have to let the evidence determine what's going on. Some people go in and like you, I'm like you. I'm not judging anybody. That's not my job. I don't want that job. But you got some people that go in with an agenda. They're going in to because they're going to prove that the place is haunted. So
Right.
so if they hear a knock, that's proof. But like you
Right.
said, if that could be a raccoon in the attic.
It could be it's settling wood. It could be
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. So you have to you have to I never assume anything's paranormal until I rule out everything else. And
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say, I actually had an experience recently. We were investigating a place, and it sounded like somebody was tapping or knocking, and it was almost responsive when you asked, "Can you do that again?" And it would do it again. And then, we were looking, where is that sound coming from? It sounded like it was coming from this room, this room. It was coming from outside. It was coming from a tree, and it was a woodpecker pecking at the tree. You know what I mean? And so, like, that just, you know,
yeah, you have to rule out everything else before you can say it's paranormal. And
yes.
that's just like with equipment, like you said, what's overrated, all of it. With equipment, you have to understand how it works, the false positives, all that stuff. And we were investigating a location that I had investigated before. We was investigating with another team, and I had a piece of equipment that just kept going off. None of the other equipment was going off, but this one piece just kept going off. So finally, we just decided it was just too sensitive, and we just removed it from the investigation because it was a version of a REM pod. It was the one that
Right.
the one that looks like the old phone that you pull around,
Right, right.
Yeah, and it like none of the other REM pods were going off, but it kept going off. So we just dismissed it as too sensitive, and unlike some REM pods, it could be adjusted. So we just moved it out of the investigation, and so and then like yeah, and so
Well,
yeah,
if it's we had a music box, and when the batteries start to die on that, it starts to play music, and it'll play it consistently, I guess, until it runs itself out. Um, and so, you know, there are times when we'd be investigating and that would go off, and we would think, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. We would have to check. And sometimes it would be a battery drain, and sometimes it wouldn't be. But a lot of times, if it's almost too consistent, then it might not be paranormal, if that makes sense.
yeah, yep, 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 yeah, and I mean yeah, and none of very little of what we have when it comes to equipment was originally designed for paranormal. It all had a bless you. It all had
Less.
a, it all had another purpose, and somebody decided, hey, this would work in the paranormal field. And so you have to understand that too. I mean, that's just like I guess the biggest debate right now would be like the SLS and the XLS, technology, and I'm not a big fan. I
Right.
have one. Uh, I actually take it with me every investigation. Um, a lot of times it stays in my case, but I do have it, and and I've actually seen it get get some interesting stuff. Um, but but when I look at it as an evidence, only if I have another piece of equipment that cooperates with it, it gives me like the same information. So I like
Right, right.
I like to have multiple pieces of equipment that point me in the same direction. Then maybe I have something,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I liked so much about being in paranormal investigators is that they were such a scientific based group, and the equipment that they used, they made sure they would always have a temperature thing out, a camera out, a digital recorder out, an EMF thing out, a Geiger counter of some sort, like all down the line of every avenue you could think of. You'd have UV camera, thermal camera, all the things. And not that they had like but it was cool to have that variation to see because, like, if you're going through somewhere, your Geiger counter should not be going off. But there are times that that thing would max out, and then what? We'd have our other equipment there, all of it would max out, and we'd be in the middle of a field somewhere. Like, that's cool. So I like that you do that, that you have multiple pieces of equipment and that you like to see, does it, correlate with one another? Or is it, you know, I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and yeah, and I hate that what you mentioned earlier. I hate the jump scare. I hate when on YouTube or TikTok, it's like the most haunted place ever, the most demonic place ever, and then they're jumping. That's not reality. I actually filmed a couple of episodes of a show, as a guest investigator with another team, and I got cut from the show both times because the producer told me they wanted me to sell more. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't sell. And what they wanted me to sell was the REM pod going off. They wanted me to be like, oh my God. I'm like, it's not happening. And
Right.
So, yeah. And, that's just like when we talk about provoking, what I tell people is what we have to understand, provoking ain't necessarily yelling and screaming. Provoking is about the intent.
Mm-hmm.
What is your intent? And what I explain to people is I wouldn't come to your house screaming and yelling
Mm-hmm.
and expect a positive reaction. So why would I do that during an investigation when I don't know what I'm messing with?
Right. I agree with that. I've done healthy, like positive provoking, meaning like where I almost like step into like that time period. We'll talk how they might have talked. We'll, bring up foods that they might have eaten, activities that they might have done, and maybe like, whatever to see if that'll boost up energy, but not in a sense of bullying and being aggressive. You
Yeah,
do that to a person, you're more than likely going to get punched in the head. I don't want to
right.
get punched in the head.
Me,
Be kind. So,
I have experienced a bite from a ghost.
yikes.
Yep.
Ooh,
It was at a place that you can no longer investigate, and that was what they were known for. And it was called the Anderson Hotel. And
why would
it was a so. So I tell people what I tell people about the Anderson Hotel is you have to understand a couple of things. First of all, it's not a hotel like the Hilton or the Drury or even the Motel 6. You're talking about like a transit hotel. Um,
okay.
for the people that don't know what a transit hotel is, it's like the little hotel where people who work out of town stay out, like where your drug addicts stay out, that kind of thing. And so that's what it was. The other thing I tell people is the owners wanted it to be violently haunted. And
Okay.
I say that based on experience. There's a couple of things you have to understand. It got shut down for 4 years because of it being violently haunted, and then they decided to reopen it. During these 4 years that they were closed, they decided to turn it into a haunted attraction, so like a haunted house. And so, which that is not a good idea anyway. But when they decided to open it up, they decided to paint a voodoo symbol on the wall.
Oh dear.
So they didn't research anything. They just picked the one that they thought looked cool.
All right.
The symbol that they picked opens up the gates of Hades, and
Oh my God.
so that was the symbol. And it did look cool. And and then once you get there, they have 6 verified deaths there. And when I verify a death, I use coroner reports, police reports, and newspapers. So when I say
Right.
verified, I mean verified. Not
Right.
rumored, verified. So of the 6 verified deaths that they have there, they have 3 bloodstained mattresses from suicides, a bloodstained bathtub from suicide, and then the 5th one, the guy lived there. He's a malicious spirit now, but he lived there and he drunk himself to the point that he hung himself in the closet, and they still have all of his liquor bottles and encourage you to bring him liquor. And so that's what I was saying. They wanted it to be violently haunted.
Oh.
So it had a reputation, thanks to Destination Fear, or one of those shows. They filmed there, and they got bit, so that became their thing. All ghost bite. So I obviously wanted to call that bullshit because I had been doing it for 28 years at that point, 30 years at that point, and I had experienced a lot of stuff. I had been scratched, I had been pushed, I've had things thrown at me, but a bite takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So we're investigating, and we start out all together. We usually divide up, but we start out all together, and we're filming voice report. We got everything going on. Where the first room that we come to is the what used to be like the spa, public bath type thing, and the story of it, it's the location where the bloodstained bathtub. The story behind it is this 38-year-old woman checked into the hotel basically to commit suicide. Her husband and son had just died in a mining accident, so that was her reaction. And so, like I said, her blood's still there. So I ask if I can climb in the bathtub, and I get yes and no. I'm like, I can't do both. So I get in the bathtub, and we're having a normal EVP session for like 15, 20 minutes. Well, I start getting, get out, and so my rule is I don't get out the first time I'm told to get out for multiple reasons. A lot of times when the spirit tells you to get out, they don't really want you to get out. They're just trying to protect their space, Okay. So the first time I get out, I explain that I'm not there to hurt them. I'm just trying to hear their story, and sometimes I'm travel 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. So but my rule is once you tell me to get out 3 times, I go on to the next room, the next area.
Right.
So we finally get up to the third. I get out, and I start to lift myself out of the bathtub. And like I said, this is one of those old-fashioned big bathtubs with the coral feet,
Right.
So I'm trying to lift myself physically out of the bathtub, and as I'm starting to get out, I feel what feels like a really deep Indian burn
Okay.
on my calf. It don't feel like a bite. It feels like a really deep Indian burn. So, and then when we get to our makeshift base, when we have electricity and light, and we look at it, it looks like a double bite mark.
Wow.
I actually got it tattooed on my leg, so I have it with me
you did?
permanently. Yes.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it, and I'll show it to you,
please
Rock Island. And so that was my experience. And I had Daryl Munson on my show, from Ghost Hunters, and we were talking about it because he actually got investigated too. So he's one of the few people who got investigated. So we were talking about it, and he had the exact same experience happen to a member of his crew. His cameraman experienced the same thing in the same location and everything. So that was kind of interesting. And that's probably the most haunted location violently in my 30 years of investigating. From there, we also had the most haunting story of the hotel, though, is there was this 19-year-old girl. They came all the way from Michigan. There's this little town in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and nobody really knows anything about her. I mean, there's when you try to research her, there's like a dead end. The only thing you can tell for records and everything is apparently there was like heart broke, and she was trying to restart over, depression, that kind of stuff. Right. She started drawing landscape, basic landscapes, and writing Bible verses on paper with crayon. I had no idea of crayon, but with crayon, and all of her pictures are still hanging on the wall. And she ended up committing suicide, and her bloodstained mattress is still there. And,
wow.
And she doesn't like guys. I couldn't get her to communicate with me. The girls got her to communicate. They used music and other things that got her to communicate. So, but I mentioned the malicious spirit earlier, the guy that committed suicide there. So what I tell people about malicious spirits is if you were a dickhead when you were alive, you're going to be a dickhead when you're dead. Mm-hmm. So malicious spirits is usually what you have when these YouTubers say it's a demon, it's really more likely a malicious spirit. Um,
Right.
so, so this guy lived there, and he also ran prostitutes in and out there. He wasn't a nice guy at all. And like I said, he drunk himself to the point he hung himself in the closet. So
Right.
when we get up to his room, he's on the second floor. When we get up to his room, I go in the closet. Uh, I go in the closet where he hung himself, and as soon as I walk in there, all my energy is drained, and they have to pull me out of the closet. Like I hit the floor.
Wow.
So me and Dennis were investigating together. That's really the only experience we really had. But something told me that he did not like females. So I radio back to the girls that I know they're getting ready to go up there, but to be careful because as the lead investigator, it's my job to take care of my team. So
Right.
so we switched, and my niece is on my team, and at that time she was 19. She decided to try to use the prostitute angle to open up communication. This is still the best EVP I got. You can go on my TikTok page and listen to it. Ken 10 Paranormal TikTok and listen to it. So Haley comes up the hallway, and she says, "I'm 19 and cute. Can I get a job?" And then the response that we got was 12 seconds later, and it was a male's voice that said, $50 and free room.
Wow. Holy moly.
And so we tease her that every time she has bad luck nowadays, it's because she didn't take the job. But but
Oh.
it it actually escalated from there. Like her mom is on my team too. Her mom is actually my lead investigator, my team lead. So so it's Haley, Jill, and Tiff, and and the spirit was started actually touching Jill and Tiff in inappropriate ways.
Oh no.
So at that point, we ended the investigation because it was no longer.
Yeah, that's rude.
So
Handsy candy.
Joe said, "I'd be interested to know if Shannon has had similar experiences with spirits and entities."
Similar to
I guess the story, because that's what they were.
um yeah, there's been I have like 15 or so years of investigating in a group, or 14 years investigating in a group. Um I've had a lot of weird, crazy experiences where I've been touched. I've never been bit. I have seen I have seen I myself was home while they were investigating that location I was talking about earlier. They made me my throat. They made me stay home, and I felt that burn on my neck. So that's why I nodded when you said that, because I felt that burn, and it looked like it had wrote mine across my neck. Um, so that was interesting. And I didn't have nails at the time or anything like that. I was like a whole nother person then. So no, it was weird. Yeah, I mean, I've had similar things happen for sure.
So we're actually a little bit, almost out of time, but
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about uh, we're going to be we're going to be together the
Yes.
first weekend of October at Rock
Yes.
Island
Yes.
at the Rock Island Roadhouse thing. So so you get to lead the after hours
Yes.
investigation, and
Yes.
I have my ticket. I get to.
I'm excited. I'm not
I,
telling you anything. Top
uh,
secret.
I'm excited. I actually, I will tell you this. Uh, I didn't participate in the investigation last year. Uh,
Hmm.
so I chose to investigate this year. So that should tell you something.
Yes. Yes.
One reason is because I get to investigate with you. The other reason is I promised Eric that
Yes.
I would do the investigation this year.
I'm
So
glad that you are. I think it's
I'm
going to be a really fun experience. It's going to be something different. You're going to have a legitimate paranormal investigation. There's no like fluff or anything like that nothing's going to be faked or anything like that. It's just going to be a very spooky time with your spooky host, myself. I'm going to be extra that night. I'm going to be extra creepy. I might be crawling on the ceiling. We don't know yet.
well, I'm excited, and honestly, uh, I don't usually do public investigations. It's not
Yeah.
my thing. So so it's just something that I'm actually excited about this one because I usually don't do them. I'm
Yeah.
Rob. Rob likes to say that I'm anti public investigation. I am not
It makes
anti public.
sense. It makes sense. I understand what you're saying, and I understand why. I'm pretty sure we're on the same page here. I'll let you finish your thought, though.
I'm not anti public investigation. I think public investigations have a role, but I've been doing this so long and I do it to find answers. So if I have, so I like to control my environment and my investigation. So if I'm investigating with other people, it can corrupt my invest. So that's why I don't personally do investigation. Other people, go for it, especially if you're beginning. If you're a new person, do as many public investigations as you can. You know.
Yeah. I
So
think I agree with that.
So here's my last question for you. Are you ready?
Okay, ready.
What is your advice for somebody just starting out in the field?
My advice to somebody just starting out in the field is to look for the reasons for the things happening. Make sure that you are protected. Do not investigate by yourself. Um, do a little prayer if you can, if whatever works for you. I don't know, everybody's different. They have their own way of protecting themselves, but I think that's important. Practice what I say, not what I preach. I don't do what I don't do it. I'm bad, I forget. Don't follow what I do. Do all the good things instead.
Do as Shannon says, not as she does.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Understand that you might not necessarily know what you're communicating with. And if you're going to open that door, you have to be prepared for what is going to walk through that door. And what walks through that door might not go home. It might go home with you and live with you, in you, and become a part of you. So if you're going to investigate, keep all of those things in mind and be smart about it. And
It's
don't
not
forget
a.
to take the lens cap off your camera.
And you probably when something happens, it'll probably be when you're not filming.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so tell everybody what you got going, where to find you, where to follow you, all that fun stuff.
I have a lot coming up. I have the Hollow Paracon coming up on at the end of August. And then I have a lot happening. If you follow me on social media, it's easier to keep up that way than me listing everything. I'm Shannon Michelle Collins with one L on Facebook, The Queen of Darkness, and then I am on Instagram, a dream underscore within a scream, and on TikTok, I am The Queen of Darkness SMC. My website is a dreamwithinascream.com. So come see everyone at the events and come investigate with us at Rock Island Roadhouse. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I tell people that Rock Island is actually my favorite Paracon, for lack of other terms. It's just a different experience. So yeah,
Ah,
definitely come check it out. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, my book is available on Amazon. Don't buy generic batteries, and it's probably not a demon. If you want me to come be part of your Paracon or event, contact Methodological Management. We'll be back in 1 week with a special episode, The Legacy of the Warrens with Chris McKinley. So I'm excited about that. Until next time, remember to chase ghosts, don't chase drama. And we'll see everybody in 1 week.